is antibody. As soon as our immune system wins, the virus is cleared out. Usually that takes days to weeks, 2 weeks. And usually months later, you already recover, the virus is gone. But the antibodies, the molecule which fights, the virus in your blood will remain for months and years,
Serology test essentially detects for the presence of antibodies to a certain disease. Serology tests have been used to identify sort of past infection in other diseases. But for COVID-19, this was unprecedented.
Usually, if you want to commercialize a serologic test or antibody test, it takes years.
But he had in fact been working on a new serology test for COVID-19.
So we were the first group in the whole world to develop a specific test for this novel coronavirus. We achieved that in 2 months. So that is like a lightning speed. I call it COVID-19 speed.
So when we knew that we had to identify a past infection in these two individuals, I picked up the phone and rang Professor Wang to ask him if he could deploy this new test he had.
So Dr. Lee, first he asked me, am I ready? Is your team ready? And I said, I'm ready. And they actually asked how confident you are. I'm 99.99% confident. And they said, all right, let's do it.
He was very confident that he had a serology test that was robust and that could identify a recovered COVID-19 individual.
And then he said, great, we will send a sample to your lab. We will send a total of 4 samples, but we did not know whether all 4 are from same individual or 4 different individuals. In a research or diagnosis lab, usually people send a sample blinded so that you're not biased. So we did blindly. And within 3 days, we had the data.
Professor Wang called me and said,
I'm 99.9% confident that person had virus infection. When I sent back this to Vernon, he could not believe it because that's the person, is the suspect.
There was no doubt in our mind that that was the missing link that joined the 2 church clusters.
We confirmed the link was that from cases 8 and 9, they have passed the infection on to cases 83 and 91. And they have passed the infection to case 66 in the family gathering. And this case 66 could have passed on the infection to his colleagues in Grace Assembly of God.
What is likely a world first, the serological test developed by Duke NUS Medical School uses blood samples that can detect coronavirus infections in patients who have recovered from the disease.
Singapore is the first country use serology to do contact tracing. So as a scientist, that's as good as you can get.
I think contact tracing really marries, science, investigational tools, and also a lot of communication skills all into one. It is a bit like a private eye because you really have to think about how things had happened, go and investigate it using the scientific basis for how diseases spread. Our contact tracing and our ring fencing had actually prevented onward transmission in Singapore. And we could at least say that that closed that chapter of these clusters.
I think we were just glad that it's over. Because other cases were happening, so it is not a time to drop the ball on, the other cases. So for us, it was, yes, we were happy at that point, but it was time to move on to the other cases.
We're watching the situation very carefully, monitoring the developments. We are quite prepared to adjust our posture and our stance as and when we see the development happening around us.
March was when things started to change.
Singapore's coronavirus numbers have skyrocketed, propelled by a surge in infections among its migrant worker population.
We were not able to keep a lid on it because the virus was obviously outgunning the contact tracing team. We realized that we had to take a different tack. The daily number of infections was going up from 100 a day to 1,000 a day. It was very difficult to catch up in terms of the contact tracing of all of these individuals.
These patients got this virus from nowhere.
Singapore has seen an alarming spike in cases of COVID-19.
The virus was outgunning the contact tracing team. We realized that we had to take a different tack.
Contact Tracers, Sunday on CNA. From the top stories in Asia
A quicker, portable way of testing for COVID-19 in just 5 minutes.
to breaking news in the US and Europe,
US President-elect Joe Biden is set to formally introduce his top economic team.
with an eye on markets opening across the world.
Wall Street's major indices all closed the month with double-digit percentage gains.
It's the one bulletin that offers you a global perspective. World Tonight, daily on CNA.
You may have the best possible plans, but plans can go awry very easily.
Because things change every day and we may have to adjust every day.
No, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Taiwan, an island where I was born and raised. I have witnessed firsthand how it has evolved into a beacon of democracy in Asia and a bastion of Chinese culture and tradition. The economy used to be one of the 4 Asian tigers. Now the island is playing catch-up, but the tides could turn one day for the treasured island to shine again.
As I live my life, I am increasingly surprised by my strength, my determination, by the power of my beliefs. I find reward in the honesty of my endeavors, proud of what I have achieved, and convinced there is much more I can do.
This is Singapore Tonight.
Good evening, I'm Jill Newbrother. Tonight's top stories. These digital eyes are helping police respond quicker to people needing assistance. Can't afford a lawyer to handle your case in family court? Well, a pilot scheme helps match applicants with lawyers charging lower fees. And a spike in demand for public campsites and barbecue pits since they reopened for use on Wednesday. There are now about 90,000 digital eyes on the ground helping officers at the Police Operations Command Centre respond more efficiently to 999 calls. Officers use the cameras to see what's happening at the location while the caller is still on the line, allowing them to deploy the appropriate resources. Alif Amshah with more.
999, what's your emergency? It's a simulation that puts me to the test. Pick up the call in under 10 seconds, keep calm, and make sense of all the information coming in at rapid-fire pace. What officers at the Police Operations Command Center call a typical day at work. On average, the police receives about 1.2 million 999 calls a year, or about 3,500 calls daily. But 70% of these are nuisance calls, including those where the caller remains silent. With a huge number of calls, sense-making is needed to make quick and effective decisions.